fingers crossed, this is working. I truly have no idea. So just, if anyone ends up being here, put some messages in the chat. And after I've had a little sip of water, we'll get on the road. How are we all doing today? And by how are we all doing today, I mean how am I all doing today? As currently, there's just me, which is super epic. Oh, is it story time? Is this the moment I use Instagram? God, Instagram. All right. Things seem to be working, maybe. Let me see. How's the quality? Does my voice and video come across okay? I hope so. Alright, let me adjust the settings. Okay. There. Right, sweet. Logic is open. Right, well, this is my Fireflies Logic project. And it looks a little small, but I'll open it up in a minute and hopefully it'll look a bit more exciting. I color coded it because my brain likes colors, okay? How do you link things? Oh, God, I hate Instagram. I don't understand it. I do not understand a thing about Instagram. Oh, man. I'll get better at this. I promise. Just not yet. How do people live their entire lives on this thing? Or da ha ba ba. There we are. So, how are you? How are the kids? Got all this technical setup. Who'd have thought that being a streamer was so hard? They should pay people for this. Hello, Amelia. Alright, I'm gonna wait till about... Gonna wait 1 more minute and then I'll get a start. Because... social media time. If I at least open up these files, that should... yeah, there we go. All right. That is the entire song from start to finish. Lots of big colours and crazy... Every block on there is its own audio file, which I recorded many times before I got right. I wish I could tell you that I was good at getting it done the first try, but this project took a while. Hello, Jed. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. I'm just, yeah, you know what? It's about 25 to, isn't it? I'll get started. So, this might not sound exactly the same as the finished version on SoundCloud. That's the most up-to-date, but I've tried to replicate the master settings onto here. So hopefully when it plays, it'll still sound as produced-ish. Fingers crossed anyway. I've got no idea how this is going to work. I don't even know if my voice is going to be too loud for the stream against the music. So you guys have got to tell me if that's the case, and I'll try and adjust it. Let me just play part of the intro to see if that's coming through for you guys. It should be coming through now. How is the volume of this? Thank you for letting me know, Millie. It's a real shame. I don't know if you guys can see the actual bar. Is that a dab emoji? I think I hate it. Okay, quiet. Right. I've tried boosting it. Let me know if this is better. I'll bring my voice down a bit as well. Now it should be... I might even be fighting over the audio at this point. You would not believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep. Okay, that was better. Okay, fantastic. That's what I like to hear. If it's now too loud, let me know. I'll just drop it down a bit. Grand. Okay. Sounds like it's working. It's really annoying because I think on the stream it's not... Oh, I'm fighting it. God damn it. Alright, it's going down a bit again then. I'm so good at technology, and don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. So, it's quite annoying because there's not a cursor. But if you see at the top, for people who don't use Logic who are watching, there is bar numbers along the top. And then in the little box at the top here, the one that's changing numbers, that tells you what bar number we're on. So I will highlight little sections as we get to them to indicate where we're at and to demonstrate what I've done with them. So most of you have heard the finished product, which I'm really happy with, and so much time went into that, and I could spend all day just talking about all the individual different things, but I'm going to try and condense what I did into about half an hour, 40 minutes. We've got quite a lot to go through, and there's some bits that I forgot I even did in the first place. So this is going to be a fun journey and exploration for all of us, and I hope you enjoy. This Fireflies has been one of my favourite songs for a very long time, but I kind of fell off it because it became a meme, and I felt like at that point I could no longer like it without becoming a meme, and I'm not sure I'm okay with that. Hello, Luke. I'm not sure my professional music career could take such a hit of being a meme. But for principal study, we were tasked with making an acapella track, and I started this one, and I just completely fell in love with it again, and taking all the different ideas. It's quite a wild mishmash of ideas. It goes to a lot of different places, but for now, if I start off with the intro, I mean, it's fairly standard stuff here. Most of the audio tracks are double tracked. I also took little elements of the motif from the intro of Fireflies and reduced it to kind of give it the same It's Fireflies feeling without ripping directly from the source material. I then layered some harmonies underneath it. I wanted it to sound quite discordant and haunting to begin with. I wanted it to sound quite discordant and haunting to begin with, because the original Fireflies is quite an upbeat, inspiring. So it's meant to be uplifting, and it's meant to kind of bring back that imagination. But for me, I had a much harder time with that to begin with, coming up with ideas. So being imaginative with the song. So I thought, you know what, I'll do the opposite. I will try not to evoke imagination in people, but kind of a sense of, whoa, what the hell is happening? And I hope that is the effect that came across when I did this. You can't keep spamming box cats. I mean, you can, please do. So that was my main thought process here. If we move towards the end, I start bringing the harmony down and making it a bit more neutral. I didn't want to bring across as much feel with this, and starting to bring it back to its original feel, which I then used to kick off into the cascading notes. So what I used here was... what did I use here? Oh, cool. There's an empty audio recording there. I don't know what that is. Here, during the... and I felt like it was lacking a little bit of energy to carry it through. You'll notice the tempo is accelerating quite a lot here to kind of match this cascade of notes. Alongside these multiple do-do-do-do-do-do's, you've got this here, which is just a do-do-do, but the do falls to a do. You'll hear it. Each note of that chord descends and becomes octave intervals of the root key of... I don't know what key I'm in, to be honest, but it falls down to the root that the song is in. I thought this was quite a unique way of doing it. I haven't thought about taking a chord and spreading it across to its octaves, which is such a fun thought experiment to go with, and I feel like it really leads well. You can't notice it so well in the full mix, but I feel like it gives it a lot of energy. And before you know it, we've landed back in the original key, which is when the drums kick in and we hit back into the tempo of the original song. So, this section, I think this might have been recorded on this terrible mic up here. I'm not sure I ever re-recorded these parts. No, these were definitely recorded, but those are essentially just now incorporating the original lead melody from the original track, as you can obviously hear, but I doubled it in octaves. I just felt it gave it a bit more depth in the mix, makes it stand out a little more. These were just some experimental wows, and I think that the tonality that comes across from them is really cool. It's the first wow definitely keeps that slightly more uplifting feel that the original track aimed to put across, and I really enjoyed playing about with all the different sounds that I could make here, but I ended up sticking with just these to kind of help gel the song a little bit together rather than just being a completely random mishmash of ideas, which is when I kick into this swell. Reverse cymbals are a godsend for any build-up. You want to create a build-up in a song that carries energy and doesn't feel artificial and flows into the next section. Reverse cymbal into a regular crash cymbal. It's wonderful. At least in my experience, I just feel like using this. It's just me going. It's 10 million fire. Like anyone can do that. Jesus, I'm not a wizard, but you would not believe. It makes the sound quite a lot more full. You would not believe your eyes. I tell you what. That's kind of that main section out the way. From here, one of my absolute favourite parts of the entire song was recording these dooms. You would not believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies. I absolutely loved the way that Jacob Collier uses descending notes that are essentially just in the same scale, but when they overlap in this context, for some reason, it almost sounds chordal once the entire note set is built up, but it's just which you'd think like you think it's just part of a scale. You wouldn't. It's rare in a song to have a cluster of the first, second, third, and fourth on top of everything else. But I just love the sound that rings out once they're all stacked up. I just think it's gorgeous. If 10 million fireflies. Panning them from different ears, just to give a bit more space to this sound. I didn't want it to sound epic or anything at this point, but I wanted it to bring a huge amount of interest as soon as those notes played, and it's quite easy to get lost in your own ideas, which I definitely am guilty of in this song. But using things like this really helped me rein it back in, because this was my core thing for this section. I knew I wasn't allowed to stray too far from what I'd already done here. At this point, I used this as my root and my hook, and which allowed me to experiment. It allowed me to experiment a lot more with my drums at this point. However, it's not all just in the drums section. The bass, I believe, is it here? Yes. So the bass at this part becomes a lot more percussive, which helps carry the energy slightly differently from the start. So rather than having your, it's now slightly more bouncy. And I think it's quite easy for a bass line to be percussive and to bring energy to any piece of work that you're doing, musically. Anyway, don't do that at McDonald's. I don't think it would work. This was the hardest part of the song for me. Transitioning to this chorus, I really wanted a chorus that sounded like this. But I'd already started with my ideas here, and without some of these extra pieces, it's like, it's very hollow and empty until these pieces are reintroduced. Figuring out that transition was quite hard, and I don't know if it was necessarily the perfect way of doing it, but it allowed me to bring in the chorus, and I absolutely love this chorus. The harmony here is quite different from the original. There's some weird stuff going on in there. I really do not know entirely what I'm singing there, but I added a few more dominant sounds to try and make this part, especially in particular. I really loved that dominant sound underneath the lead vocal, which, by the way, is stacked in 3 octaves. It's hard to say that I landed Earth. I'd like to make myself believe. Sounds stupid when it's on its own. But everything in. I love how rich and how some of the notes poke out at you, like that top right there, right now. I love that one just sitting on top. It just helps gel that little section together, and is a little taste for some of the more peculiar harmony that comes a little later. I wanted to focus on finding a balance between being tasteful to the original at this point and having my own flair. And I think that just, especially that bass line, who the hell knows what's happening there? I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, 'cause everything is... It's something like that. I love the sound of that, and this next section was honestly initially just born from singing the lead. Hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs as they try to teach me how to dance. So I literally just sung the lead vocal with one different note. I believe. From 10,000 lightning bugs as they try to teach me how. So I drop a little lower in that. Since they try to teach me as they try to teach, which allowed for some slightly more exciting harmony underneath because of the alteration. But without the lead, this is what the harmony sounds like once we've entered the next section. I'll throw in the drums as well. 'Cause I get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs as they try to teach me how to dance. So, 'cause I get 1,000 hugs. I wanted to have this idea of I had this idea of ascending and descending chords, up and down, then up to a step below where it was before, down to a step below where it was before, moving downwards in almost a ladder-like fashion. And the effect that brings across here is 'cause I get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs as they try to teach me how to dance. That last part was just sort of reascending the chords so we could feel like we were coming back to where we had just been. However, when you sit that with these harmonies, with some extra bass. Oh, I forgot about that bit of the bass. So, there's underneath these bass lines, very subtly, there's a real dubsteppy bass, which just brings such a great depth to that sound. And it sounds stupid when it's there. Sounds stupid. Adam, there is no way that there is a dabbing emoji. That can't be real. Beck and Adman, you're not allowed. No dabbing in this chat. Right, right. Wilbur introduces rules into his chat. I'm introducing mine. No dabbing, okay? No dabbing. If I see any more dabbing, I'm calling the cops. Luke, no. Stop it. Stop it. I see what you're doing. The ascending harmony. So we've used the harmony here to dance me as they try to teach me how to dance. That was a bitch to work out. It just required complete substitutions of chords and notes that definitely shouldn't be there. Stop dabbing. I stopped dabbing. Right, stop encouraging them, Jed. Stop dabbing. I have no control over my audience. You can hear me. You can hear me. I know you can hear me. Don't lie. Wait, you're actually shitting me, right? You're not going to tell me that you... I can see the audio meter moving up, okay? I know that when I talk, this is working. I was never gone, and you know it. Right, the moment I bring up dabbing again, you're going to disappear. Ugh, whatever. You get me sidetracked, and I don't like that. Yeah, layering this section. That one took... That was... I wouldn't say it was the hardest bit, but it was definitely the bit that hurt my brain the most. And my brain hurts at a lot of things, but this was the mostest brain hurt. Okay. Sally / mum, hi mum. Everyone say hello to Sally. That's my mum. They can hear me. They were always able to hear me. They just were pretending that they couldn't hear me so they could continue posting dabbing emojis in the chat. And I'm really not a fan of the dabbing emojis. You know what? Okay. I can fuel this. Right, okay. Alright. Alright, there you go. Alright. It doesn't get better than that, does it? Right. Anyway. So this was actually one of the easier parts to block out. This was the second chorus. There wasn't too much difficulty in terms of creating this part. There was a lot of do-overs and retakes and stuff, but in terms of how I actually wanted it to sound, I got this probably the fastest out of all the sections so far. It's just, what is it? Must be 5 parts. I'd like to make myself believe that. Yeah, just 5-part harmony. I think. Oh, jeez, I'll work it out later. But it's a lot of. Thanks, Mum. Oh, jeez Louise. I'd like to make myself believe. But there are definitely some notes that shouldn't be in here. Yeah, that one. Make myself believe. I'd like to make myself believe. No, not that one. No, not that one. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. Alright, there's one of them in here that sounds... Maybe it's later. You know what? It's later. I'm an idiot. Earth turns slowly. Yeah, I really wanted to kind of have... in this one, in this entire song, I kind of wrote out the parts in terms of how I wanted it to feel rather than how I wanted it to sound. And in particular, I loved that chord, because from the previous chord, it almost feels like it's bouncing up and then being pulled back in. Earth turns slowly. I just love the idea of having this push and pull tension and constantly trying to throw it in where I can and knowing how far to push it. And this was a great section for me because it was completely stripped back. I didn't have to put any thought into much of the production and how this was going to balance. I was just really allowed to be weird and no one could complain. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep. Adding in just some extra runs into the harmony. Why not? Why not? You know, music is an art. There is no such thing as wrong art. Forgive my burp. There is no such thing as wrong art unless you listen to... No, I'm not going to try and call out a music genre. That would come back to bite me so hard. 'Cause everything is never as it seems. Yes, Adam, it's jazz. This is jazz, baby. To quote my favourite movie hero, you like jazz. Barry B. Benson should be in the Avengers. Just saying. Leave my door open. Now, I knew how I wanted to end the piece, which was with a slowdown of the final phrase. When I'm far too tired to fall with a really horrible discordant chord. But I really did try to root the discordant chord in the sound of the original track, which was quite hard to do, but running a sort of cascading set of notes similar to how I did at the start, but much slower and much less chaotic. Like, I mean, come on, you can't listen to those sets of notes and tell me that sounds good. It does not sound good. You can't copyright my channel. Okay, maybe you can copyright strike my channel, actually. I don't know if this falls within the... Is this legal? This is surely legal. This has to be legal. Stop dabbing in the chat. So, right. But, you get what I mean, right? This chord is kind of horrible. But also, this chord is kind of horrible. Like, when I'm far too tired to fall asleep. You can't actually tell me that chord sounds good. Stop calling the cops, Adam. Jeez. Sorry for that outburst. But this chord, you've got to be honest with me, it sounds horrible. I know that. But actually, interestingly, it's also the same chord as... It's the same chord as the one that appears in the second verse. Where is it? From 10,000 light. Yeah, right here. Lightning bugs as they try to teach me how to dance. That last chord, dance. Those notes there. How to dance. Those are all pretty much, with some extra octave stuff carried through, those are all pretty much the same as this final chord. So you've got this. When I'm far too tired to fall asleep. This horribly discordant chord. I mean, I love the sound of it, but it is discordant. And on its own, without the context of the things that's happened before it, it really wouldn't work. But even then, it still needed something to kind of fill it out. And adding in that cascading drop of notes sort of re-embedded it back into the song without being as jarring as it might have been if I'd just held that chord on to then move on to the final chord of the song. So this one was just this bottom one right here was, I'm pretty sure it's just ba 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 ba. Oh no. Ba 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 ba. There is a 7th and a 9th in there as well, although I think the 9th is acting as a... Anyway, it's a very nice just chord. There's nothing weird about it. It just sounds nice. So kind of stacking that in on top of these horribly discordant ones kind of fleshes it out again and re-embeds it. Although I did have to do a sneaky cheat. Here. If I remute those. I change the chord drops once the bass notes drop out, and we're back to major. Oh, God. It's nice to be back at major. With an extra little... I don't know why I added it, but just a... Ba, ba. So it was a real mixture of experimental ideas. And I'm fully aware that none of it would sound anywhere near as good as it would. What I'm scrolling through here is each and every track. Each and every track that has audio on it. But all of these have got effects, most of which are copy and pasted from within groups, and a little bit of pitch correction. Pitch correction is considered cheating in some areas, but don't tell anyone I did it. Then, on the stereo out, or the master track when I was mastering it, I had some extra little effects. However, how different does the song sound without them?
A sock got beneath my bed, a disco ball is just hanging by a thread.
I mean, it sounds okay, but it sounds... Stop dabbing. That, thank you for not being snitches. Mum, no, don't. I know you can't be one of them. You're so much better than that. Don't join the dab train. Stop it. Anyway, when I took all those effects off, it actually sounded quite dull, right?
Ball is just hanging by a thread.
Listen how different it sounds once I reintroduce these. Just 5 effects.
Ball is just hanging by a thread.
Brings the song to life again. It's not boring. It's not boring. It's fun. It's fun, Adam. It's fun. It's fun. All right. There's I mean, honestly, I kind of want to see what this sounds like if I just turn all of the effects off. I wonder what that'd be like. Questions for later. I'll upload a version of this song that's got no effects, no correction, no nothing. It'll just be disgusting. Okay, right. So if you're wanting to listen to the song in its final state, I believe in the description I've left the link to my SoundCloud. And the SoundCloud link has got the final product, which quite a lot of you have heard. That is the fully mastered, fully mixed version. It got really positive reception, which I'm so grateful for. It means so much to have seen so many people liking my music. It genuinely means the world. I'm sorry that my face is getting a little red. There's a light over there shining directly in my face to illuminate it so you can see me. What's the frowny face for? What did I do? So that is the main gist of it. I also used a heartbeat. That's right. To transition better. That was it. That's how I figured it out. So this section I just couldn't get working. I couldn't transition it from the first verse to the chorus. I just couldn't figure it out, even with the stir, even with that, and with the whoa, with all that, you'd think that would work. It just wasn't quite right. So what I did was kind of crossfade from the regular kick sound that we've heard up until this point into a heartbeat sound. And that, like, if I mute these, The transition style sounds good, but if I do it with just the kick on its own, it loses so much of that energy. And I couldn't figure out why the regular kick wasn't working as the sound. I couldn't figure. It wasn't making sense. But the section, which I was missing the fact that the section really needed to find a way to be toned down and more relaxed and laid back, whilst keeping the tension and energy, which was a really strange balance to find. But the heartbeat transition was perfect.
I'd like to make myself believe.
Just really, really subtly bringing the energy down whilst keeping the tension. Play it all the way. All right, I'll play it all the way through. This is it from the start. But as I say, it will sound slightly better on the SoundCloud link. So after this stream is done, you know what? Yeah, there's not, unless there's any more questions about specific parts or specific moments, I'll just play it from start to finish. After that, check the SoundCloud link for the high quality version, and just drop any questions here if you have them. But after this, I'll probably end the stream. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure sort of splurting my brain ideas out onto the internet. It means so much that I'm even able to do this and that anyone is willing to listen. Because, Jesus, I have no idea what any of this means. Here's the song. I'm just gonna hide my camera. I'm just gonna move it out the way. Okay, bye-bye. Oh no, something's gone horribly wrong. It's fine, you didn't hear that. Everything was fine. There was no issue. Everything's fine. Everything is fine.
Believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep. 'Cause they fill the open air and leave teardrops everywhere. You think me rude, but I would just stand and stare. I said, you would not believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep. 'Cause they fill the open air and leave teardrops everywhere. You think me rude, but I would just stand and stare. I'd like to make myself believe the planet Earth turns slowly. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, 'cause everything is never as it seems. 'Cause I get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs, 'cause they try to teach me how to dance. Foxtrot above my head, a sock up beneath my bed, a disco ball is just hanging by a thread. I'd like to make myself believe that planet Earth turns slowly. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, 'cause everything is never as it seems. When I fall asleep, leave my door open just a crack, yeah, 'cause I feel like such an insomniac. Why do I tire of counting sheep, yeah, when I'm far too tired to fall asleep? When I'm far too tired to fall asleep.
Hello, it's me. I'm back. I've returned. Yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you everyone so much for coming and checking it out, even if it was just for a little bit. If you want to see, I pretty much broke down every single section. So if anyone wants to go back and I am the king. If anyone wants to go back and see any specific parts that they may have missed, I talked about every little bit, probably for too long. So Adam, get off Mum's phone. There was some more specific bits regarding the mixing and mastering and the extra effects that kind of made the magic of it. But if any of you have got any questions on that or want to go back and listen to any of the bits that I broke down, go for it. I'd love to try and inspire some new ideas or new ways of thinking with music when I'm older and wiser. But for now, adios and thank you for joining. Namaste. Right, if you're not on Mum's phone, how did she know to type POG? Mum has no idea what POG means. That doesn't mean anything. Right, bye. This stream is a mess.